Jones Potter, and I am a candidate for mayor of the city of Wilmington. I am also your former state treasurer, and I'm also your former city treasurer. And I'm really proud and happy to have served the citizens of Wilmington, and in the case of treasurer of the state of Delaware, in those roles in the past. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background, because I haven't been with you in some time. I'm a native of Wilmington. I've lived here since I was 2 years old, all in the city of Wilmington. My mom still lives at the house that I grew up in, and I'm in that neighborhood almost daily. So Wilmington is home for me, and I know all parts of the city of Wilmington and care about all parts of the city. I went to the University of Delaware, received an engineering degree there, and then I went on and got a master's degree in finance. I worked the first 17 years of my career for the DuPont company, and I think you heard from someone about DuPont a little earlier. I also spent time as an executive in banking. I was a managing partner in a venture capital investment company that invested in women and minority-led technology businesses at a time where there was lots of capital available, but it wasn't getting to some of the people who had great ideas but wasn't a part of that network and didn't have access. And as a result, we saw great businesses spawn out of our investments. I had an opportunity while I was at DuPont, enjoying the work that I was doing, learning, developing. I thought that's where my career would be. And along came a then Mayor James Sills, who was looking for someone to come and help him with a problem that the city had in its finances. Nearly 4 straight years of deficits and just a horrific degree of volatility and lack of confidence in the financial projections and the ability of the city to handle its money. DuPont agreed, as the good citizen, corporate citizen that they were, agreed to allow me to go on an informal executive loan for 18 months. And I worked with the city during that time to help get its finances on track. We took a position that said we had to turn the corner. And if it meant just having $1 surplus, we needed to just make that turn in the corner and to establish the confidence and set the city on the right track. I'm pleased to say that in that capacity, we actually ended up with a $5.1 million surplus in that time frame. Yep, it was a great year. The city was able to hire 32 new police officers. They were able to fulfill and complete contracts with workers that hadn't had their contracts and their wages increased in almost 4 years. So that made a difference in the lives of people of Wilmington. That was life-changing for me. I saw the way in which you could bring good business practices into government in service of people and make a difference in the quality of their lives. Somehow I knew from that point on, my full career wouldn't be at the DuPont company, as much as I loved it and as gracious as and grateful as I was for the opportunity they gave me. I did go back to DuPont, but I didn't stay very long. And my career followed on with being appointed by Governor Markell to serve as treasurer for the state of Delaware. When he was the treasurer, ran for office as governor and won, he had the responsibility to appoint his replacement, and he could have chosen anybody in the state to do that. I was honored that he asked me to do that. And that was at a time in 2008, 2009, 2010, when many of you will remember that was the Great Recession. That was the period of time when the bottom was falling out of our country. We were afraid of a run on banks. Mortgages were being foreclosed on, and people were losing their homes left and right. And I'm proud to say that during my tenure and under my leadership as treasurer of the state, we maintained our AAA bond rating. And we continued to meet the needs and the requirements of our state from a treasury standpoint. I later and more recently ran for office and won and served as the city treasurer for the city of Wilmington. And I'm proud to say that our small team of 7 people in that office followed behind my predecessor, who had been there and done a great job for 30 years. We had the opportunity to innovate and to bring some new ideas and new practices into the treasurer's office. Typically the place that, is kind of boring. You invest the money, you process payments and checks, and you handle the money. But we saw it differently. We saw it as an opportunity to bring money, to recoup funds, to find a way to be more efficient, to free up money that could be used in other places. And that's, to me, is the key to service, is to find a way to be able to help lift the quality of life for people that we are committed to and we have pledged ourselves to serve. So in my first 2 years as city treasurer, first 2.5 years, we recouped $20 million to the city of Wilmington by refinancing its debt, by refinancing the city debt, by looking at the practices of going to the bond market that was every 2 years, just religiously going back to the bond market. And despite the fact that many projects that monies had been acquired for previously, the city just hadn't had the capacity to complete. And so our citizens were paying interest on money that hadn't been put to work. Something we wouldn't do with our own money. And that's my approach to managing the finances, and that will be my approach to managing this city. While there have been some good things, really good things that happened in this city, there are also many opportunities for us to do better. And some of it is a reflection of really what's happened throughout our state. I have a 3-pronged approach to how I will manage and what my vision for the city is. That we will be a city that is safe, smart, and empowered. And so what does that mean? Safety. I think usually we think of law enforcement, and hats off to our law enforcement officers. They do the best they can. They do a great job. But there are lots of things that we can do on the front end that we haven't been doing and that we really need to do. This community, I heard the officer describe, has a super safety record. But that's not the case in communities all across our city. We have 16-year-olds who are being shot and killed. And it's not a rare occurrence. And so we've got to show some love and do things that are going to build that community up, because as our whole city goes, our whole city goes. I mean, we are all one city. We are all one city. And so my commitment is to work across our whole city.
Yes.
So that there's attention given where it needs, so that we're able to continue the good things that are already being done, and so the uniqueness that's required in each neighborhood is attended to. I see the projects that you're working on, and they are super and great, and those are the projects that are needed here. And there are other work and investment that are needed in other places.
Yes.
And so my commitment is to make sure that working with members of City Council, we're able to be responsive to all the various and varying needs. Our children, from an education standpoint, are really suffering across the state. 42% of our third graders can read at a third grade level. 42%. In the city of Wilmington, that number is 5%. 5% of third graders are reading on grade level.
Yes.
That is unacceptable. And then we wonder why in the places where the crime is high, why it is. We've got to address the education. Although that falls under the governor and the state, in terms of its responsibility to manage the Department of Education, as mayor, I will have a strong voice in that with the public and work tirelessly to help make that different. We have lost so many social and support services that are leaving people unable to function, homeless. We've got to embrace those issues and help bring people along. So we lift the quality of life for people all across this city.
Yes.
We've done a lot of building in the city, and yet we haven't included and given opportunities proportionately to our local people who actually live in this city. If you look at the license plates of many of the people who are working on the projects and the contractors who are doing those, leading those jobs, many of them are not local. And so we want to have our local people within this city, through apprenticeship programs, through job training, through all of those ways that we can ready them and get them engaged and involved so that they are working. Because then that money turns over in our communities all across the city. And that lifts all boats. We all rise when that happens.
Yeah.
So the last piece is empowered. And people say, well, okay, what does that mean? And what that really means is getting people who have for far too long been on the sidelines, getting them engaged and getting them involved, so that they're contributing members of our city, so that they're carrying their own weight, because they want to. We just need to find ways that we're able to help and assist them in doing that.
Yes.
And then hold them accountable
Yes.
to do that. And I know we're a city that can do that. We just have to care enough. We have to have leaders who care enough about Wilmington to do that. Another piece of that is listening to time.
Okay, I've just
Okay.
word
If I can
that you
conclude
2
my
more minutes.
sentence.
If you conclude your sentence,
I
that would
sure
be
will.
awesome. No,
I
that's
sure will.
terrific.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
Empower.
Empower.
Okay, empowered. And so, what that means is getting people involved and engaged who typically and normally aren't, so that they have a say and they're able to participate. I guess I would leave asking, because I know that Mr. Carney is going to come up and speak, and I will ask him to kind of express and explain a governor who decides to run for mayor. And I'm just very interested in maybe he'll explain why, how he's come to that. And then recently I learned he extended an invitation to all Republicans to come into what is an 8-to-1 ratio of Democrats to Republicans. This is a this is a Democrat primary. And so I just wonder if he will explain what it is that causes him to invite others into the process. I hope he'll give that explanation to any people here who would be interested.
Super.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Governor, I very much appreciate you coming here and speaking about whatever you want to speak about.
The hour is late. It was my understanding that this was a candidates forum, not a debate. I know that I'm going to get in the debate, but it is the question. First of all, thank you for what you guys do with this civic association. I was involved with the Triangle Civic Association for several years and an officer for a couple of years. Our concerns were a little bit different over there than here. We were really happy when the police would come and give that kind of report. Really quite amazing. But I lived over there for almost 40 years. It's a great place to live. Tracy and I raised our two sons there, and the city's been really important to me. And to the question, I get it all the time. I've been out knocking on doors like, why are you running for governor or mayor? Isn't that a step down? Actually, it's more of a step up. It's certainly on any given day more challenging or as challenging a job as being governor of our state. Now, I probably have to worry about getting tubes out of the Brandywine River than some of the things that we deal with at the state level. But one of the things that I've learned, first of all, it's been a great privilege to serve as your lieutenant governor for 8 years, as a member of Congress for 3 terms, 6 years. Some of the most unproductive years of my life. With the respect of those candidates over Congress, no pressure to fall, it's gotten worse. And then now almost 8 years as your governor. And it's a great privilege to serve, and with that privilege comes a tremendous responsibility to make sure you're focusing on all the people up in the state. And that's 1 million people from where I grew up in Claremont all the way down to Gilmore and everywhere in between. But my heart is really here in the city of Wilmington, and I've learned as governor that the success of the state depends on the success of the city of Wilmington. And the success of the city of Wilmington is not just about the success of the business district, which the Insight thing is a huge boost to our city, but it's every neighborhood. Every neighborhood has to be successful. Every family in those neighborhoods have to be strong. And they can only be strong if we have good jobs, if we have good schools, if we have clean and safe neighborhoods like this neighborhood, and it has to be across the city. I've also learned that the mayor needs the governor and state representatives to do those things to lift every community up in our city. We have invested more in affordable housing in this city than any other time in the state's history. Now, we've had resources to do that, for sure. We turned a $350 million deficit into a $400 million surplus over the first term and a half, and that's due to a strong and growing economy. And if you don't have that, a strong and growing economy here in the city of Wilmington, all the things that we talk about trying to do get so much more difficult because you don't have the revenue. Whether it's parks, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's streets. I've been out knocking on doors, and I'm going to be coming to your neighborhood. I've been in the 40 acres, and is there a lower hilltop? I've been in the lower Highlands, if that exists. And by the way, those Ring cameras, they're a little bit scary if you're knocking on doors. You hear this voice, and it's in the house. You're not really sure whether they see that you're there, or they're avoiding you because they know it's you and you're there. But the good thing is you can leave a message if you're smart enough to do that. So I've worked very closely with the mayor on housing. He didn't mention it tonight, but I can tell you he's more proud of what's happening with Reach Riverside project, a whole redevelopment of the Riverside public projects of several decades ago, than he is of this huge win we just had with Insight. Insight was on their way out. When they were turned down by Newcastle County as a result of opposition in Alpocas, they weren't happy with that. And Hervé was very clear. He was looking at Pennsylvania. The mayor, my goal was just keep them in Delaware somewhere. And of course, the mayor stepped up big. We worked hand in glove in attracting them to our city. And with that, all the small businesses that people talk about that need to be empowered and helped are benefited because of that new employer here in downtown, filling up that two buildings, Bracebridge 1 and Bracebridge 2. And then with the proposal to put Delaware State University and the Delaware Law School in the remaining building, along with the education building down there, just makes that a tremendously strong campus. And what that does, it strengthens the whole downtown, and that success permeates out into the neighborhoods. So this neighborhood where I live in the Triangle, over at Haynes Park in North and on the east side. If you haven't been on the east side recently, you should go there and see all the new affordable housing units that have been created over the last decade or so. I am so excited about the opportunity to serve as mayor, to make sure that every neighborhood in the city is lifted up, to make sure that we have the revenues to support our children, to support parks, and make Wilmington such a great place that we all love to live in. I'll be around to knock on your door to say hello. I hope you'll answer, notwithstanding the ring bell there. I'll leave a message. Don't frighten me away. But thank you again for the opportunity to serve. Any questions that you have, or advice you have for me, or I know this bridge has been a thorn in the side. They are doing it concurrently because I told the folks at Genrec we need to do these concurrently instead of waiting to get the permits and then doing the bidding. They were able to push that up a little bit. Whenever you take federal money, you're going to get what we got, which was this prolonged permitting process and historic review that took so much long. I know it's been a thorn in many of your sides, but I think we've turned it around.
I have to compliment the city, or the state, for actually working together there, because they can only be working on the project for 6 months out of the year, and if we missed this deadline, we would be back a year, because we wouldn't have been able to start. And that having different departments in the state working together was very successful.
When I went to the public meeting over at the Blue Ball Barn, it was very obvious that some things had to happen in order to make sure that we made that time.
And it did. That was good.
No advice? Later, you ready to go?
I just have one question, and actually I would ask either candidate and the current mayor. There was such amazing great news with Insight and with Widener and with the Delaware State University for the Bracebridge campus, but simultaneously, just very sadly and sort of abruptly and out of nowhere, it seemed, DCAD, Delaware College of Art and Design, is closing, and very quickly and abruptly. And I think the arts in Wellington, the culture of the arts, is an extremely important part of the history of our city. And losing an art college, the only art college, not to mention the Creative Vision Factory, it's just really sad. And what would you do to help support the arts?
Yeah, it was a big loss for us. There's no question, and mostly in part because of the kind of institution it was, as well as its position kind of on Market Street between the lower market and the upper market. We made available $1.5 million through some of the arts funding to try to prop them up. Their market just went away for COVID. And they weren't able to get the things necessary to attract them. We had a similar situation with Wesley. There are fewer and fewer students going to higher ed these days. And so smaller private companies are experiencing the same kind of problem that the art school did. And so we were disappointed, obviously, that they failed. We did make some money available, but it wasn't enough.
And I'd say the Philadelphia Academy of Fine Arts, that's next year. I mean, unfortunately, and I spoke with the executive director or the director of DCAD, and she tried her darndest, but there were issues such as the FASB delays. They just didn't have the students, and it was a difficult decision. But she did reach out for help. We
were able to save Wesley because they had a place to go, which was Delaware State University. So they're now Wesley College at Delaware State University. And part of their strength is their nursing program, part of which is going to go, if we were able to implement the plan, to go in the other Bridgeford building with Thayer's proposal.
If I could add, from my perspective and my commitment around the arts, I believe that we had and frankly missed an opportunity to create Wilmington as a center of arts and culture and entertainment. We have a rich history of art and culture here in this city. The East Side goes way back. This facility, I mean, we do. We have just, frankly, I believe we've just not nurtured it, and we've not invested in it and supported it. You know, where we put our effort, where we put our focus, where we put our investment, we're able to see results. So we have not created that this city could experience in arts and culture. We are a small city, and in many things we can't compete. And culture, that is one place we can distinguish ourselves, and we can become and be a destination point for that. And I believe if we had put ourselves on that path, we might have seen differently. And we also lost another art institution in this city, which the name of it escapes me right at the moment. Yes, the Creative Vision Factory. Yes, which not only was it an art institution in this city, but it was also a place of healing and recovery and a sanctuary for many people. And so there's a place for the arts in that healing process as well. And I'm excited about having the opportunity as mayor to bring those things to life.
Okay, just have a final comment.
That's simply that I would put our investments in the arts up against any administration in state government, and just for the facts. We have made those investments.
All right, thank you very much. Our lease here is about 8:45, so thank you very much.
Yeah, well, freedom of press is in the Constitution.
No, we've never had press at our association meeting.
Well, we've never had Velda Jones Potter and Governor Carney kind of talk to each other before, right?
Yeah, no,